So a few summers ago, my family and I took a tour of the Xinjiang Silk Road region in China. And since you've been in China, that surrounding the entrance of every tourist attraction in China are tons of these vendors selling all sorts of Chinese souvenirs and memorabilia. And a lot of them sell old propaganda posters from the Mao era. So we were walking outside a museum in Turpan in Xinjiang, and I was looking through the propaganda posters this man was selling. They're all fantastic, and most of them are, ones with images of Chairman Mao looking hopefully into the distance, or Chairman Mao surrounded by young children and their red books. They're all great. And then I was flipping through them, and I came across one similar to the one pictured here. It was a propaganda poster for a communist ballet. And it was so weird. Like, I was shocked to see this because there were these women and they had these Bermuda shorts on and their point shoes. There were these rifles being raised. It was um, definitely different than, your typical image of like Swan Lake and stuff. And so I never thought of ballet in this way, and also ballet used as propaganda. So it's very strange, very strange. And the poster cost like 50 American cents, so I bought it. So after remembering that poster, I decided to look into some of the dance propaganda that was produced during the Cultural Revolution. The Communist Party had always been good at using popular media art as propaganda even before the Cultural Revolution. During its rise to power and in the 30s and 40s, the party used Yanga dance to propagate its ideas. Yanga itself became a symbol of the party. It was performed in the streets after communist victory. The party leader Rong Gaotang once proclaimed, "Wherever there is liberation, there is Yanga." However, as the party evolved, its view towards art and dance evolved too. By the late 50s, Yanga was no longer popular. During the Cultural Revolution, Chairman Mao sought to modernize China by destroying old traditions. Part of the revolution included destroying old artistic traditions and replacing them with new ones that he and his party believed would better represent the new goals and new ideology of new communist China. While Yanga dance was a communist revolutionary symbol at first, by the time the Cultural Revolution rolled around, it was condemned for being feudal and traditional, and it was banned and abandoned. So as you discussed in class, the party came together to form a new national dance of China, something that could be uniformly recognized throughout the country as Chinese, as well as something that could be easily controlled by the government. This new dance form was sculpted by the Gang of Four, particularly Jiang Qing, Mao's wife. This new dance molded together aesthetics of traditional Chinese dance, opera, martial arts, and Russian ballet. Ballet because the communists found it so inspiring when they saw Russian delegations perform it. Out of the Cultural Revolution came the 8 model plays, which were the most famous of the few operas and ballets that were permitted during the Cultural Revolution. They all have communist and revolutionary themes. The ballets, which were produced by either the Central Ballet Troupe or the Shanghai Ballet Troupe, were The White-Haired Girl and Red Detachment of Women. So the first revolutionary ballet is titled The White-Haired Girl, and it was originally an opera, but it was adapted into a ballet in around 1965. And the story is based on legends from the Hebei regions. The White-Haired Girl is about a girl named Shi-Er who was born into peasantry. The story begins on a night in a small village in Hebei with the protagonist, Shi-Er, at home waiting patiently for her father to return to celebrate the Spring Festival. Her father has been away all day to avoid the landlord, to whom he owes a lot of debt. The father comes home, but unfortunately the landlord comes too and kills the father because he's unable to pay up. Shi-Er is then taken away and forced to be his concubine. At the landlord's home, Shi-Er is forced to work till exhaustion daily. One day, the landlord's mother gets into a fight with Shi-Er. Shi-Er, out of anger, beats the landlord's mother with a whip. As a result, Shi-Er is locked up and awaits her fate. Luckily for Shi-Er, one of the other workers at the home takes pity on her and is able to help her escape. Shi-Er escapes to the mountains. After trying to chase her down, the landlord determines that she must have drowned herself in the river. Meanwhile, in the mountains, Shi-Er lives in a cave and gathers offerings for food from a nearby temple. Her life is hard, and her hair turns white. One night, The landlord comes to this particular temple that Sheer goes to and sees her with her long white hair and shabby sun-whitened clothes and believes that she is a ghost who has come back to punish him for his mistreatments of her. The landlord becomes paralyzed with fright. Sheer recognizes him and takes revenge by hurling an incense burner at him. Finally, no ballet would be complete without a little romance. A young army general, Wang Da-chuan, comes through the area with the 8th Route Army. Wang Da-chuan fights the imperialist Japanese and overthrows landlords across the land, including the landlord that abused Sheer. Wang Da-chuan hears the story of Sheer and goes into the mountain in search of her. He finds her, and they live happily ever after together. The second ballet, The Red Detachment of Women, is the most popular ballet in China. It premiered in 1964 and is a romanticized version of a true story of an all-female division of the Red Army. The story begins with a peasant girl, Wu Qinghua, escaping from her landlord. Wu runs for her life, but her landlord finds her and beats her till she loses consciousness. A thunderstorm arrives, and the landlord leaves her to die. Luckily for Wu, Hong Chong-ching, the commissioner of the Red Detachment of Women, passes by and saves her. Hong brings Wu to the Red Army camp. Wu tells the soldiers there about how horrible her landlord was. They sympathize with her and induct her into the troop. They all vow to liberate the peasants from landlords. The Red Detachment of Women form an elaborate plan to bring down the landlord. The Commissioner Hong disguises himself as a member of the elite and attends the landlord's lavish birthday celebration. While the landlord is distracted with the festivities, the Red Detachment secretly surrounds his home. However, Wu becomes so riled with anger she shoots her landlord before the official call to attack is made. The landlord is only injured and in the midst of the chaos is able to escape. The Red Detachment is able to free the landlord's peasants, but they are unable to kill him. Wu is lectured for her mistake. However, she comes to realize her error and trains hard and is forgiven. A few days later, the landlord assembles an army of his own to fight the Red Army. An epic battle ensues. Many soldiers die. In the midst of the battle, the Commissioner Hong is captured and executed. The Red Detachment, however, fights valiantly and in the end prevails. After their victory, the Red Detachment mourn the death of Hong. Wu then takes over Hong's position as the new commissioner of the detachment. So when I was researching, I came across this photograph of this 5-year-old girl, and it was taken by Li Zhensheng in 1968 during the Cultural Revolution. And in an interview with the Smithsonian, Li says he took this photo at the Red Guard Stadium in Harbin, China. And while he was there, he heard this singing followed by a burst of applause. So he followed this sound, and he found this little girl dancing with her hands raised and smiling. And all these soldiers are around her smiling back and clapping. And he said that the little girl was performing the loyalty dance. And the loyalty dance was a dance that the Communist Party expected everyone to be able to perform, from the young 5-year-old to the city office worker to the rural farmer and to the old ladies. So I searched the internet to find a clip of the loyalty dance being performed. And the moves of the dance are basically arms stretched to the sky to express love and respect for Mao. And part of the lyrics to the song they sing are, "No matter how close our parents are to us, they are not as close as our relationship with Mao." The Cultural Revolution is usually characterized as a dark time for artistic expression. However, after looking at what came out of the time period, namely The White-Haired Girl, Red Detachment of Women, and the Loyalty Dance, I have mixed feelings towards what the revolution did to dance in China. The loyalty dance represents the dark side of the revolution. People were prohibited from freely expressing themselves, and instead this loyalty dance was forced upon them, and they danced it with naive or forced enthusiasm. On the other side, however, there are these two fantastic Chinese ballets. Though they have communist undertones, they are both innovative and enjoyable, and they are great products from this dark era.